I'm so excited to meet our first partner today. Here she comes. Introduce yourself to the camera, please.
Good morning, Mingwet and Culture on the Go. My name is Thuyết and I'm the Miss Grand International 2023. Miss Grand International 2023. Today, I'm so honored and excited to be accompanied by Mingwet and Culture on the Go, and I'm so looking forward to having more discussion about our interesting topic today.
Very happy to hear that. And first, I would like to ask each of our guests about their thoughts and feelings toward the topic. So, Miss Thuyết, what do you think about popular culture? For you, what does it mean?
To fully understand this term, I want to break it down and explain each of the small elements that include the culture, the ideology, the popular culture, the media culture, and the relationship between them. So in this sense, culture is a man-made environment and the people living in a society actually grow their way of life over time. For example, Western cultures or European culture.
First, culture can be used to refer to a general process of intellectual and spiritual development. Culture means the whole complex of traditional behavior which has been developed by the human race and is successively learned by each generation. Culture is the socially transmitted knowledge and behavior shared by some group of people. The culture of any society consists of the sum total of ideas, conditioned emotional responses, and pattern of habitual behavior. A culture is a total socially acquired lifeway or lifestyle of a group of people. It consists of the pattern, repetitive ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that are characteristic of the members of a particular society or segment of a society.
How about the types and the characteristics of culture?
So there are two types of culture, non-material and material cultures. And about the characteristic, cultures have three main characteristics. Cultures is learned, cultures is social, and culture is shared.
How about ideology? I'm so curious to hear about that.
Okay, so ideology has many ways to define, and I have mentioned three of that. So first definition is that ideology can refer to a systematic body of ideas articulated by a particular group of people.
A second definition suggests a certain masking, distortion, or concealment. Ideology is used here to indicate how some texts and practices present distort image of reality. They produce what is sometimes called false consciousness. A third definition of ideology, closely related to and in some ways depending on the second definition, uses this term to refer to ideological form. This usage is intended to draw attention to the way in which texts like television, fiction, pop songs, novels, feature films always present a particular image of the world. So far, we have briefly examined different ways of defining culture and ideology. What should be clear by now is that culture and ideology do cover much the same conceptual landscape. The main difference between them is that ideology brings a political dimension to the shared terrain.
Okay, how about popular culture?
So there are 6 ways to define the popular cultures.
Firstly, popular culture is easily understood as a simple culture that is widely favored or well-liked by many people. A second way of defining popular culture is to suggest that it is the culture that is left over after we have decided what high culture is. A third way of defining popular culture is as mass culture. These draw heavily on the previous definition. The first point that those who refer to popular culture as mass culture want to establish is that popular culture is a hopelessly commercial culture. It is mass-produced for mass consumption. Its audience is a mass of non-discriminating consumer. A fourth definition contends that popular culture is a culture that originates from the people. According to this definition, the term should be used only to indicate an authentic culture of the people. There is popular culture as folk culture, a culture of the people for the people. A fifth definition sees popular culture as a site of struggle between the resistance of subordinate groups in the forces of incorporation operating in the interest of dominant groups. A sixth definition of popular culture is one informed by recent thinking about the debate on postmodernism. The main point to insist on here is the claim that postmodern culture is a culture that no longer recognizes the distinction between high and popular culture. Finally, what all these definitions have in common is the insistence that whatever else popular culture is definitely a culture that only emerged following industrializations and urbanization. A media culture has emerged in which image and sounds have produced the fabric of everyday life, dominating leisure time, shaping political views and social behavior, and providing the materials out of which people forge their very identities. Media culture also provides the materials out of which many people construct their sense of class, of ethnicity and race, of nationality, of sexuality, of us and them. Media culture has shaped the prevalent view of the world and deepest values. It defines what is considered good or bad, positive or negative, moral or evil. Media culture provides the materials to create identities whereby individuals insert themselves into contemporary techno-capitalist society and which is producing a new form of global culture. Media culture is a culture of the image and often deploys sight and sound. Media culture demonstrates who has power and who is powerless, who is allowed to exercise force and violence and who is not. They dramatize and legitimize the power of the forces that be and demonstrate to the powerless that if they fail to conform, there is risk or death.
Popular media culture explores the relationship between audience and media, their politics and interconnected ephemera. We focus on the cultural work done by media audiences, how they engage with social media, and how convergent cultures impact on the strategies and activities of popular media fans.
Let's come to our next partners today. I wonder what ideas they will bring to discuss. Hi!
Hi!
My name is Ian.
My name is Lee.
Welcome to our show,
Culture on the Go!
Our topic is popular culture. Many of us share the same question about its cultural and social context. Can you show us?
Yes, of course. So let me show. A British researcher named Stuart Hall gives a historical account of the development of British popular culture with reference to the social tensions in the late 19th and early 20th countries in order to show how the tensions shape popular culture. And today we will show you the social cultural context. First, the post-war Britain, which leads to the new climate of consumerism, mass commodity production, and strong class division. And the second is the crisis of the lab, from old lab to new. Let us explain it in more detail.
First, let's talk about post-war Britain. Transformation taking place in post-war British culture of the 1950s provide the single most important context for an understanding of Stuart Hall's early thinking on popular culture. British society has experienced significant change since the Second World War, including an expansion of higher education and home ownership, a shift towards a service-dominated economy, mass immigration, a changing role for women, and a more individualistic culture. These changes have had a considerable impact on the social landscape. This situation led to the new climate of consumerism, improved technology, and the revival of the economy after the Second World War saw rapid expansion and development in popular forms such as cinema, radio, and print culture. As the nation's wealth and leisure time increased and the cost due to the mass production decreased, people could afford television, radio, music, pulp fiction, magazine, and films on a level that could have been unimaginable before or during the war. Full employment and wage increases meant that the working classes were among the main beneficiaries of these cultural and economic changes. The primary producer within society were transformed by post-war capitalist society to become key consumer. The second problem is the mass commodity production. Since the 1923, it has been said that the concept of cultural industry transformed people and cultural expression of humanity into commodity. Popular culture is articulated with capitalism through the marketing of cultural products and advertising. Popular culture is produced by capitalism. It is an artificial, commercial, and consumer culture that has become the interest of the public. The cultural industry uses media space to market cultural products and to broadcast advertising. Today's media institutions, which are for profit, create a cultural industry and market almost every cultural product. The taste and leisure activities for the masses equipped with cultural industry become homogeneous. In post-war Britain, there is strong class division. As you can see, social class relate to popular culture in a variety of ways. As Marx himself had stated, the ruling classes use the control of social institutions to gain ideological dominance or control over the way people think in society. Due to bourgeoisie owning the means of production, they are able to shape the superstructure which made up of major institutions such as popular culture. Due to the media, the bourgeoisie can choose to show the advertisement they want. An example of this is the idea of paper power, that ruling classes use advertisement on the television to encourage children to want what they do not need, leading to pampering parents. As a result, parents are almost forced to buy the product, benefiting those in power. This further relates to popular culture, as children often want those products so that they do not feel left out of the latest trend.
The term New Left has been applied to a fairly broad range of political formations in various countries, commonly associated with the radicalism of the late 1960s, but to the extent that all these formations have something fundamental in common. What made the New Left news was above all its dissociation from the traditional forms of old left politics, both Stalinist communism and social democracy. More particularly, the various New Left share a commitment to emancipatory struggles apart from, or at least in addition to, traditional class struggle, especially the student and the Black liberation movements. In Britain,
The development of the new left were marked by institutional milestones in the form of influential journals, whose changes in content and style record trajectory of the movement through its various permutations. And now let's learn about the new left. The new left is new generation of left-wing thinkers and activists. They took popular culture seriously and saw the popular as an important political side.
One of the main aims and contributions of the New Left was to demonstrate that popular culture is itself political, and that the refusal of the traditional left to take so-called cultural politics seriously explained declining support for the Labour Party after the war. There are three reasons sunlight for wishing to bleed analysis of the culture of the central politics in the 1950s and early 1960s. First, because it were in the cultural and ideological domain that social trend appeared to be making itself most dramatically visible. Second, the cultural dimension seemed to be not a secondary, but a dimension of society. And third, because the discourse of culture seemed fundamentally necessary to any language in which socialism could be redescribed.
The Olet consider popular culture as the opiate of the masses. Those who consume popular culture was dubbed by it. The term opiate of the masses is derived from the description of Karl Marx about religion. The masses' immersion in highly schematized popular culture takes parallel the opiate of the masses, outlined by Marx. Popular culture functions as a compensatory result for structural disadvantaged groups, women, racial minorities, those with lower incomes, and to a lesser extent, sexual minorities. Popular culture operating as both a compensatory result and values-shaping schema suppresses what would otherwise be larger group differences in political ideology. Popular culture has ensured the fragmentation and uniformization of human consciousness and the dominance of consumption culture. Therefore, the masses could easily be fooled by capitalism and the cultural industries controlled by capitalists.